Hi, class. All right. So, review of our lesson for today, which is October 20th. We had our live lesson just a little while ago. We're in marking period 2. We're working on the writing of our narrative. And, you can launch the unit and go through the whole thing. Each of these lessons is one step in the writing process. Today, our step that we should have been on was revision, but, we started class by checking in and having a look at this lesson, and looking at this chart and understanding this writing process. See? And so, the writing process is that you start by brainstorming or listing or having some kind of thinking ahead of time, planning, and then you write a draft that can be really bad, and then you get some feedback to revise. I shared a story in class about my friend Leah. Um, and she is a professional writer and editor. This is her webpage. And if you go to her portfolio, you see that, wait a minute, these are things she's written? Yeah, she wrote these books, even though they say they're by Steve Hardy or David Peters or these other various places or people. She actually wrote them all as a ghostwriter or as an editor. And that is the piece of the writing process, right? Where you're getting some feedback from somebody else because nobody really writes all by themselves. Um, so don't focus on this project being the publishing, focus on going through all the stages of the writing process. And so for each stage, I've given you some lessons. So here's a live lesson from last week, and here is a vocabulary lesson on writing process. Here's a quiz on that same information, so really easy for you to get some points that way. And here's a pre-writing lesson from someone else that you can watch to get ideas about how to do that pre-writing. And then here are the prompts. There are videos where I've gone over this already, so I'm not going to do it again, but you want to make sure that you pick one of the prompts and do some pre-writing. And then you want to submit that pre-writing here. You can take a picture of, if you write by hand, take a picture of the work you've done. You could also upload a document like a Google document, or you could even record video or audio, and that would be pre-writing as well, because pre-writing is really just thinking about what you're going to write. Then you might want to take a look at some mentor texts. These are some ways that you can think about how you want to do your writing. So I explain all of it. I do a live lesson where we go over one of the mentor texts here. You can watch that video. Then you can take a look here. There's the best common apps essays that I provided the link to, and the website will come up. And, the prompts that are in your work are actually this one and these two. So they're already common app essay prompts that you're using to do your assignment. And so these are all written to those same prompts, and you find one that works for you. Then I've got a couple of videos. These are alternative ways. Now, I can only teach you how to write. So if you choose to make a video, you have to have this skill set already to make a video like this. But this is another way of telling a narrative. This is Carrie Ellie's story. And then you can also look, this one is Brandon's last class. It's also a video, but it's a video of him delivering a rhyme that he wrote for my class. And then you can also look at this text, Right My Wrongs, that goes with the lesson that was the beginning of this. And you'll have a chance to give some feedback here on this quiz, earning points along the way. You can also skip those other assignments and move straight to drafting if you don't want to go through every step of the process. This is just a little document that you can open. It's a Google assignment. If you can't access it, it's probably because you're using your wrong account. So make sure you switch to the DOE account and you should be able to use it. And then go to, again, here's the topics. You only have to write about one. So make sure you've only chosen one. You want to submit a draft. It can be really bad, really bad. Before anyone's read it, before anyone's looked at it, you want to submit a draft, something. You can upload it. It can be something you've just written on paper, or you can share it with me as a Google Doc, okay? And then today, working on revision. So revision is really where it happens. After you've just kind of like gotten out everything you can think, you go back and look at it, and hopefully with a supportive someone else, because no one really writes all by themselves. Um, so the thing I want to make sure you understand is that revision is different than editing, right? So revision is when we do big things like we add sentences and words, or we remove sentences that we don't need because we realize we've been repetitive, or we change words, or we move things around, or we substitute things, right? So you just decide, I don't like the way I wrote this, I'm going to change it. Or I told you I had a conversation, I'm now going to show you what the conversation was and write a dialogue, right? Those are revision moves. Editing is stuff like, did I capitalize everything, and did I use the right nouns and verbs and punctuate properly, and is my grammar and spelling good? This stuff can wait until the very, very end. And in fact, I will absolutely, as long as you turn it in on time, give you all your editing for you, because I don't expect you to know how to do that. And so really what I want us to work on is the revision and thinking about how we can make our writing better by crafting it differently. All right, so I've given you here a tool if you do want to get some peer revision, right? If you miss class today, I gave revision feedback to people in real time, and we modeled that process in real time. But if you missed class, then you might want to use this tool to get some peer revision information from someone else. You can just share this document, take a picture of these questions with someone that you trust, anyone, any human being that you trust, that you will tell your story to, and that can give you feedback on whether or not their attention was grabbed, or whether your purpose was clear, whether they noticed anything interesting about the way you're writing or had any suggestions for you, right? And this is just someone who can give you that feedback that we all need as we're writing. Now, you'll see that that's the end of the unit, but that's only the end of the unit so far. The next steps of the writing process, if we remember, are editing. So there will be another lesson coming next Thursday on editing. And then next week, we will be publishing. Okay, so we'll go through the entire stages of the writing process, and it won't say marking period to project until we get to that final publishing stage. However, know that the rubric expects you to go through the entire writing process. So please don't skip the process. And as long as you're doing it, you might as well get some of those smaller points for the project development grade. That is, I think, 40%. All right, good luck.